It's Kane Hodder from Friday the 13th. You are listening to 13 Days of Friday on Rock Video Rental.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Rock Video Rental. We are continuing with our Friday the 13th marathon, and today's episode is Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. It is from 1989. It is directed by Rob Hedden. The cast is Jensen Daggett as Rennie, Scott Reeves as Sean, Peter Mark Richmond as Charles, and Kane Hodder returns as Jason. There's lots of other characters in this movie that are here for body count. Those are the most important ones. So the plot this time is a boat full of graduating high school students headed to Manhattan accidentally pulls Jason Voorhees along for the ride. So this is the first Friday the 13th movie that you have seen twice.
Yes, it is.
How do you feel about that?
I feel blessed to be able to say that I have watched this movie 2 times now.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So, isn't it kind of funny to think back at the beginning of the series and how the movies were, how like simple they were, and how far they came by this point?
Yeah, and that's what I've been trying to like keep straight and keep perspective on as we watch these. And so it was obviously very different to watch this one the second time because now I've seen the first 7 to kind of give me an idea of what this series is all about. So yeah, definitely a very different perspective this time around.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, hey, they're kind of running out of ideas.
No.
Part 7, he fights a girl with telekinetic powers. Part 8, they're like, oh, let's send him to Manhattan. And then it's like, Part 9, well, Jason goes to hell. Part 10, Jason in space.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Those. We'll get to 9 and 10 here in a little bit. So I think it's funny that this is one of the ones that's pretty polarizing, I guess. But I feel like more people dislike this movie and see it as one of the worst, if not the worst. And that this is the one you've seen twice. I don't know. We can get right into it. I mean, I can mention that most of this movie was shot in Vancouver and not in New York, which is kind of funny, just because of budgetary restrictions. I mean, it's really expensive to shoot in New York.
Yeah, I can't imagine the hassle of doing that.
Yeah. So right off the bat, we get like this couple that is in a boat, and they're like fooling around, and the guy's trying to play a trick on his girlfriend, acting like Jason, dressing like Jason, and at the same time, like their anchor, it's like an underwater power line that it electrocutes Jason back to life.
And the only thing that was keeping him down was a couple pieces of wood.
Yeah. This is a guy that could smash somebody's face through the side of an RV and punch a hole through someone's chest.
Yeah. And so they were saying that somehow, like, that was the weird thing with part 7 is that all she did was she released him. Like, she didn't like bring him back to life. She cut the chain and then he came out of the water.
Yeah.
But at the end of that one, he gets dragged underwater and then somehow is like dead under the dock. And then he needs the electricity to bring him back to life again. So another wonderful inconsistency of the series.
Amazing. Yeah, and then I mean, right from there, Jason comes back, climbs onto the boat, lays waste to the two, and then the boat kind of just drifts from Crystal Lake to the ocean.
Yeah.
Somehow it makes it to the Atlantic Ocean. So they never really like quite say where Crystal Lake is, but there's like hints at it and kind of things in the background that tell you that most of the time it's in New Jersey. So we're making it from a lake to the Atlantic Ocean. So I'm not sure if like it's going down a river or a fjord.
Jason had to
or a
portage the boat.
canal. Yeah, Jason just carries the boat over his head and drops it in the ocean. Climbs
There
back
we
aboard.
go.
But this is when we like meet the rest of the cast. They're all getting on this big, like old cruise ship. I mean, like old, like it almost looks like the Titanic or something like that.
Oh, baby Titanic.
Yeah. And then soon Jason starts like hunting everybody off one by one. They start realizing what's going on. They get in like a lifeboat and they make a shore at New York City. And then that's kind of like when the movie takes off, I guess. And it's like the last 20 minutes is actually in New York. And even some of the street scenes are still in Vancouver. I don't know. I guess, with this, I can get into the kills because that's really the most important thing in a Friday the 13th movie.
Well,
There's a lot of them.
Real quick, one thing that just came to mind, they have what I would say almost for Jason movies is like the token crazy character.
Mm-hmm.
And
the deckhand.
Not to get on too much of a rabbit trail, but is there technically like a crazy person in every movie? Because the first two had the same character, close. I think.
Yeah, Ralph.
Yeah, and then there was that crazy redneck son. I can't remember what movie
that
was.
Well, part 3 had that weird drifter guy with the eyeball in his hand. Remember that?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Towards the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Part 4, I can't really think of one.
Part 5
off the top of my head.
Yeah, 4 might be a tricky one. 5 definitely had that dumb crazy kid.
Yeah, and his psycho mom.
Yeah, and then
and part 5 also had the guy that hacked up the dude with the axe.
Oh yeah,
he was nuts.
But then part 6 was the cemetery guy. I mean, he was more of an alcoholic than crazy, but he was still pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems like a consistent thing that they go for, except for maybe part 7. But technically, she was kind of crazy. She was in the crazy bin, loony bin or whatever. But anyways, that was my rabbit trail there for a minute.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to think about that. I guess I've never paid like too close attention to it. I mean, obviously, I know Crazy Ralph. He's kind of, you're all doomed. He's kind of a memorable character, but yeah, I mean, most of this movie takes place on the cruise ship, and during the whole thing, the main character Rennie, she obviously has like some kind of trauma from her childhood, and she lives with like her super controlling and kind of a dick uncle named Charles. He's like, they show a flashback where he's trying to teach her how to swim in Crystal Lake, and he just like pushes her off the boat and tells her to like swim, and he's not helping her. And like Jason as a boy is like in the water trying to pull her down.
Yeah.
Which that just even makes the whole Jason storyline and like the timing of everything, the timeline, just muddier and murkier.
Oh yeah, everything is. There are so many weird things in this one, and the continuous reference to her seeing Jason as a boy in different ways at different places, just super weird.
Mm-hmm. And it never really like pays off. They never explain anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we're just supposed to know that that's Jason, but like the character wouldn't really know that.
No, and see, like the thing too is they could have played it off as in it was a deep-seated memory from her incident in the lake, but then it becomes like a real crossover realm between like the living and the dead. I don't know, like at one point the kid reached through a mirror and grabbed her.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, that's not a dream. What is going on? Like they didn't have it where she woke up. It was some real experience she was going through. It was, I don't know. If anybody could make sense of that aspect of this movie, I would like to hear that.
Yeah, since they never really explain anything and they never like allude to it in any way. And I mean, that's kind of the way the rest of this movie is. It's really a jumbled mess. And I gotta say, like the first time I saw this movie, I thought it was ridiculously stupid. Like I hated it. But it's kind of grown on me over the years. But I'll get into that towards the end here when we talk about grades and all that. But yeah, I mean, really, the big payoff. You get some kind of interesting kills, and you get some kind of cool visuals once they get to New York, like Jason standing in Times Square, just kind of looking around. Jason on a subway train. Those are really cool, and I wish that would have been more of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But with like I said, budgetary restraints, it's just it kind of kept that from happening.
Yeah.
I mentioned kind of cool kills. There's 19 of them in this movie. So the first one we get is the couple that I mentioned at the beginning. We get Jim and Susie. Jim is stabbed with a harpoon gun. Not with a harpoon, with the whole gun. And then Susie gets stabbed with the harpoon. We
Real
get
quick
JJ. Yeah.
real quick before moving on to the next ones. I know we'll probably discuss it a little bit more later, but possibly the roughest acting in this movie was at the beginning with this couple.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
When Susie was about to be killed, I was not motivated to give her an Emmy for her performance.
Yeah, she looked like she was half awake.
Yeah.
It was just like, no.
Should I be scared? I don't know if I should be scared. What could possibly happen?
Right. Oh, no, he's going to kill me and I'm dead.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh. Thankfully, the rest of the acting isn't as bad.
Mm-hmm.
The next kill we get is JJ, kind of like the rocker girl. She gets bashed in the head with her guitar.
That was disappointing. I wanted to see
because they
more
cut
of
away
that.
on it. Yeah, they cut away of it too.
Yeah,
because I liked her character. It had, just in the 5 minutes that they showed her, basically, she had a lot more like development than a lot of the other characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like they're just basically like, all right, we're going to develop this character. All right, dead. All right, develop somebody else. All right, dead.
Yeah. So there's like a boxer guy. He gets a hot sauna rock to the chest, which is an interesting kill.
That I give them props for that one. That was pretty unique right there.
Then we get Tamra, the kind of slutty girl. She gets stabbed with mirror shards. Then we get Jim Carlson, who is one of the deckhands. He gets harpooned in the back. Admiral Robertson, he gets his throat slit. Eva, who is played by Kelly Wu, in a very early role for her, she gets strangled to death. I think it's funny because like I find a website that tells all the kills, and they just say crew member.
Oh, really?
Gets shot by Wayne.
Oh,
He's the camera guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Wayne, he gets electrocuted on the control panel.
Yeah. Which bursts into flames.
Yeah. Just by being thrown into it. So Miles, he gets impaled on an antenna. Then there's another deckhand. He gets an axe to the back. And then they finally make it to New York. And then a gang member gets stabbed with a syringe.
Ugh.
And then another gang member gets bashed and then scalded on a hot pipe.
Let off some steam, Bennett.
And then probably the most notorious kill from this movie. There's a scene where Julius, like the athletic boxing guy, is fighting with Jason on a rooftop. And he's just throwing punch after punch after punch, and Jason's just taking it. And it's not even affecting him at all. Plus, he's punching a man wearing a hockey mask. And finally, like, Julius is completely like worn out from throwing like all these hard punches at him. And he just says, "Take your best shot." And Jason uppercuts his head off. It
Yes.
flies up in the air and then falls into a dumpster.
I must say that so far that is definitely in, I would say, probably top 3 of the kills from this entire series.
Yeah, if you're going for most ridiculous, then yeah, for sure.
Yeah, most memorable, yeah.
Yeah, memorable for sure, because that's one of my. That was like the one big thing I remembered from this movie. That and another scene later I'll get into with like kind of scenes that make me laugh. So there's an just Irish cop. He's killed off screen. Colleen, who's like the teacher, she gets blown up in a car. Charles, the jerk uncle, gets drowned in a barrel of sewage.
And then he
a
becomes a Ninja Turtle.
or the Toxic Avenger. There's a sanitation worker that gets bashed in the head with a wrench. That is the last one. So a couple interesting things in this movie that like, always had me thinking and just like laughing at the absurdity of it. So they're towards the end they go into the sewer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they see that sanitation worker that I mentioned that got hit with that wrench, and he says to him, he's like, "What are you doing down here?" He's like, "You have to get out of here. These sewers flood with toxic waste, like at midnight every night." Like, wait, what? So the sewers of New York just fill up with toxic waste at midnight every single night.
Yep, that's how much
Like,
waste they have that they dump into the ocean.
where is it coming from? Is like a company that's just like, "Oh, it's midnight, hit the button, open the doors, release the Kraken," or is it just some buildup and it just breaks free at midnight every night? And like, if
No.
this is this is something that happens all the time, isn't that a problem? The largest city in the United States, one of the largest cities in the world, and their sewers flood with toxic waste at midnight every night.
Every night.
Oh gosh.
I think it would have been better if he had been like, "This is the one night of the year that the sewers get flooded with toxic waste. What are you doing down here?"
even that, even that, and then that just builds up for the suspense. They have to get out of there. Jason's coming after him, and that's how Jason dies. Like, that toxic waste hits him. He's just burning him, and his mask comes off, and he's got like this weird Muppet face. It's probably like the worst look Jason's ever had.
Yeah, I agree.
And he just like, he burps up a whole bunch of it, and then the waste goes away, and all of a sudden Jason's like a little boy.
Yeah, I'm a real boy.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah, and then they just leave him.
Yeah, then they're just
And
like, later, kid.
yeah, like, okay, is it just what is going on? Is he really a kid? Is she just seeing this again? Like, we're seeing young Jason. What is happening, and what is the point of this? Because then if he really was there, they just left him.
Mm-hmm. Screw this kid.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
And then like, there's two other things that always crack me up too. Um, there's the scene where they're in Times Square and Jason's just like walking by all these people. Wouldn't you think like Jason's like an unstoppable killing machine, and he just kind of lays waste to anybody in his sight? Don't you think he'd be having like this huge like berserker mode where he's just destroying everybody around him?
Yeah, right. I kind of thought about that too. It's just like, I mean, he tends to focus more on, the teens or
Mm-hmm.
the young people, whatever. Um, and he walks by a group of them and plenty of opportunity to do stuff with that. So I don't know if maybe just the fact that Rennie and what is it, Sean?
Yeah.
Because he's been trying to get them for so long that he's got tunnel vision. But yeah, that's kind of interesting that, you know, they didn't do anything with that.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. And really the only thing Jason does to like other people when he's walking through Times Square is he kicks that radio of those guys.
Yeah.
which is funny. And then they like yell at him and Jason turns around and they're like calling him names and everything. Jason just pulls up his mask and shows them his face and they all just like, sorry, dude. And it just like terrifies them. They decide to leave him alone.
Yeah,
It's funny, but like I feel like any other Jason would just go and like rip the guy's heads off or something.
yeah, exactly. He kills all these other people for doing nothing.
Yeah.
And then those guys are yelling at him and threatening him, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm just gonna scare him."
Yeah. I don't have time for these guys. The last thing that I always think about with this movie that we talked about it when we did our full length review of this movie, and that's the smartest character in this movie again is a dog
That is correct.
because the dog gets to New York, realizes Jason's around, and he just gets the heck out of there. And then he comes back after Jason dies. Just like the dog Muffin in part 2.
Yep. Now, the thing that I was a little confused and I missed, and maybe it was just because there wasn't really a clear answer, but the dog went missing on the boat too, and I didn't recognize when did it just magically show up in the rowboat?
I don't remember.
Yeah, that was the part that I missed, and I should have gone back to try to watch when it showed up, but I was plowing through the whole movie, so I forgot to go back and catch that. So yeah, magical reappearing dog.
Yeah. I guess now we can get into trivia. So I mentioned it was Kane Hodder that returned again as Jason. So the scene where Jason's getting covered in toxic waste and like he burps up a bunch of water, that was real. Like Kane Hodder drank like a few gallons of water before they shot that scene. So when he was like vomiting water, that was real.
Like he was vomiting it, or he was just like spitting out of his mouth?
No, he was vomiting it.
Ew.
Yeah. So one of the other people that Jason comes across that he actually attacks is in a bar where he throws a guy into a mirror. Funny thing is that the guy that he throws in there played Jason in Freddy vs. Jason.
Oh, really?
It was like a stunt man, yeah. And that guy went on to play Jason in Freddy vs. Jason.
Nice. Now, they didn't classify that as a kill.
No, because I don't think they don't really show if he died or not. He was just
Yeah.
kind of thrown aside.
Yeah,
Because
I'm not.
really all it happens is he bounces up against a mirror that's on the wall and the mirror breaks.
Yeah, but if he threw him with enough force, which we know that they've given Jason enough strength to do, he could have killed him. But yeah, I guess I never realized and noticed that if they really clarify if they say he killed him or not. I think in most cases they don't count that.
Yeah. So this movie surprisingly has the longest run time of any of the Friday the 13th movies.
Oh,
It is 1 hour and 40 minutes, which is hilarious because that's not a very long time.
no. Yeah, I mean, especially by today's standards, but I mean, for back when this came out, that's not too bad. But
Yeah, and I mean the common runtime for a slasher movie is like 1 hour and 20 minutes to like 1 hour and a half. So kind of makes sense. So the original script of the movie had Jason kicking the dog, but Kane Hodder refused to do it. He said it was just going too far, so they cut that out.
they were gonna have him like physically kick the dog.
Yeah,
They weren't gonna go all Ron Burgundy Anchorman style and
Punt
kick
him off a bridge.
kick a stuffed animal.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I guess. So this movie, it cost them 5.5 million and it only made 14.3 million, which, is still profitable, but for a Friday the 13th movie, it is not.
No.
And since it was such a disappointment in the box office, Paramount actually sold the Friday the 13th series to New Line Cinemas after this movie.
Wow.
They kind of just washed their hands of it.
Huh.
Yeah.
And then
So
it finally went on a break.
pretty much for a few years at least. And then, they had Jason Goes to Hell, and then it went on an even longer break before Jason X.
Yeah.
But we can get into grades now. So I pulled from IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes like usual. Any idea what the IMDb grade is?
Oh man, I can't remember from last time.
I can't remember my grade from last time. So it might be different now.
Yeah, I think mine's gonna be different too. I'm gonna say IMDb is 2.5.
It is a 4.6.
Oh really? Wow, I didn't think it was that bad.
It takes a lot to get a 2.5 on IMDb.
True. Yeah, I just realized some other movies that got really bad scores. Yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah. So Rotten Tomatoes has a critic and an audience score. What do you think those are?
Critic, let's go with 46%.
Oh, you're way off, dude. It's 12.
Oh man, I forgot they're a little bit more harsh.
Yeah. So what do you think the audience score is?
Audience, let's go with 36.
Pretty close. It's 27.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty. Like I said, it's pretty polarizing. Either you'd like it for being completely and utterly ridiculous, or you think it's like one of the worst in a series. With that being said, what's your grade for this?
Well, it's nice that I have a list of everything that I've ranked before. Looking at all the 7 movies before this, I think that when we do our final review of all these movies at the end, that I might be changing one of them.
Okay.
Just by comparison. But for this one, I'm going to go. I feel like it's more of an entertaining one. It kind of does some of those elements. Man, I think it was part 5 where they added a little bit more humor to it. Which I get, but not really a fan of from this series as a whole. I don't think that it plays to its benefit when they do too much.
Yeah.
And the jumbled mess of Rennie, and does she have power? Like, I could have seen them taking now her name is escaping me, but the character from part 7, do you remember her name?
Tina?
Yeah, Tina. It felt like they wanted Tina to have been on the boat and have like some of her abilities and whatnot. But then they just threw Rennie in and didn't explain anything. And she didn't really have powers, but she could see things like almost permanent. It was just weird. And they didn't explain it, which was kind of annoying. But yeah, and the slight disappointment that the small amount of the movie that actually took place in quote unquote New York. So I'm going to go with a 2.5 for this one. I enjoyed it. It wasn't terrible. I still have part 5 as being the worst one so far. So I'm giving it a 2.5 because I appreciate some of the creativity that they did with it. Some of it went a little bit too far, in my opinion. But the punching off the head, the kill with the rock, hashtag rock, things like that. So,
Yeah.
but
Like I said, the first time I saw this, I really didn't like it, and I thought it was completely stupid. I guess, some of that was it was really tired by this point. It was really worn out, and it needed something new. They tried with the last one, and people really weren't into that with the telekinetic powers. I thought that one was pretty good. Um, this one, they tried to go to New York. They only did it for like a little bit. It left me wanting more. But I guess the more that I've watched this, I appreciate some things in it. Like you said, they tried something new. It has some memorable moments in it, and a couple of the characters are, they give a little more backstory with them. I mentioned JJ, even though she's killed off rather quickly, that was a pretty developed character for the short amount of time she was in the movie.
mhm.
And I liked her character as a person. Um,
I like her as a
and
friend.
like her as a friend, yes. Uh, but you mean at the same time, I accept that it's not like a good movie. It's kind of the reason I like had you watch this. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. It was last year, I think,
Yeah, it was last year.
that I had you watch it just to see what your reaction was to it. Because I mean, it is completely and utterly ridiculous, but it's entertaining at the same time.
Mhm.
And I do consider it one of the worst in a series, but not the worst. I still have at this point grading them. Part five is also my worst in the series. I give this a 2 out of 5.
Okay.
Um, and part five had a 1.5 out of 5.
Mhm.
Um, and really, we've only got what we got: Goes to Hell, Jason X, Freddy versus Jason, and then the remake to talk about. And it gets worse after this one. Some of them. So I'm kind of reserving my bad grades here. Even part five, I was cautious to give it too low of a grade because I know that Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X are like two of my least favorite in the series. I think I've only watched Jason X twice, so this will be my third time watching it, and maybe it's grown on me a little bit since then, but we'll see how that goes.
I have not ranked any of these movies with a 5 out of 5 rock, and I'm holding on to that for Jason X.
Oh yeah, that's funny. I think I gave part four a 5.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, part four
Yeah.
I gave a 5, and I got a 4.5 for part two.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun when we do what will be the 13th episode for this, and doing a review of just like a general discussion of the series as a whole, and talking about all our scores and everything.
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Any parting words?
No, I mean, I think you already mentioned it, where it's worth saying that we did do a full review of this if you're wanting to hear a little bit more of our take on it. And I actually think it was from October last year. I think this was one of our like Halloween-esque reviews for the month.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so if you go back through our episodes and everything, you should be able to find it, and we discuss some further details. But I thought that was a pretty good, taking everything here as we're doing so many reviews of these Friday the 13th movies.
Mm. So next time we will get into New Line Cinema's take on Friday the 13th with Jason Goes to Hell. So until then, as always, be kind, rewind.